Oh, yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and drink. I'm Kyle.
I'm Allie, and we are here breaking down the good, the bad, and the downright crazy. Oh, that's fun. We should make a dance. The good, the bad. This whole... listeners can't see our sick dance moves right now, but let me tell you.
If we can make sound effects, it would be...
like a Beyonce hair flip like moment. Welcome. And today we are talking about backyard weddings. I can't believe that it's taken this long to have this topic because backyard weddings are like literally my favorite thing.
I also forgot about them. So,
well, because you don't do very many of them. And I think if you're, it just kind of depends on where you're at in the industry. I have always had like a love of backyard weddings. When I got married, before I was really in the industry, I got married in a backyard. And then kind of like definitely had a few like early in my career. But when COVID hit, I actually started kind of my pivot. Like everyone had the fuck. I hated that word pivot during COVID era. Everyone is, was this thing called the Backyard Wedding Collective, where basically for a year and a half, we like pretty much only did backyard weddings because that was the only thing that was, you know, legal kind of. And
if you weren't in Huntington Beach,
if you weren't in certain areas that were operating illegally,
privately owned.
But I love backyard weddings so much. I think the vibe is always so awesome. They come with their own set of challenges. So we'll kind of get into all of that. But during COVID time, and that wasn't obviously like the first wedding that we worked together, but it was like such a memorable backyard wedding.
Yeah.
So this was Gianna and Easton was almost 3 years ago exactly, which is weird. Yeah. We should like post some pictures of it or something because it was so interesting. They were, you know, a COVID reschedule, cancel, reschedule. Ended up doing it in the backyard and doing fully virtual. So the only people that were there were their parents and siblings.
Yeah, parents, siblings. Was it like one best friend?
I don't even think there was. I think it was just parents and siblings. Crazy. Yeah. And they just had a lovely meal, but they did like a virtual, remember they had the big screen?
They had a screen
so
and
people
the DJ
could
set up like a Zoom basically.
Yeah.
So people could watch the ceremony, I guess.
It was a full like two-way Zoom though, where everyone was watching because they gave speeches on the Zoom and stuff like that. And it was really, really beautiful. I mean, they had crazy florals, like they really went all out. And it was just wild because those things pop up in my like social media memories or whatever to think about like 3 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long. And just how much things have
changed or
evolved,
I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's going from a wedding perception of, I guess, before COVID was, where's your wedding? It's at a church. It's at a reception hall. You know, it's at an actual venue.
Yeah.
I never really thought of having a quote unquote backyard wedding.
Really?
Until COVID.
I
didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
So COVID happened, but you know.
Yeah. And I think what was cool about that was like, it reminded people that backyard weddings are like a cool option. And like, that is what weddings are about. It's supposed to represent family and authenticity and like comfort and right. Like all of these things that like your home represents. So people getting married in their parents' yard or in their own home. Like, I just think that's such a beautiful, cool thing, you know? So I want to talk today about some of the challenges about backyard weddings because I think sometimes people think it's going to be so easy or so cheap, and you know that's definitely not the case.
Might be a little difficult and different.
Yeah, but also I really want to encourage people to think about it as an option because I think a lot of people are like, I don't have the space, or you know, my yard isn't big enough, or whatever. And like I've done some backyard weddings that are really creative and have made things work maybe in ways that you're not thinking of. So. Yeah.
Nice.
I love a backyard. I'm like excited, right?
I know, I'm trying to think. I'm like, oh, that could be really cool. Let's say you don't want to have a bunch of people. You want to have more intimate, but like doesn't mean you still can't have certain vendors. Like if you still want a party, still get a DJ.
You can do the whole thing.
If you still want photo, still get a photographer.
Oh no, let's make this very clear. Your backyard wedding is still a wedding. You need to have all professional vendors. You need to still plan in the way that you would be planning at a venue, if not more. There's way more logistics to figure out. There's way more rentals that need to be brought in, things like that. Whether it's casual, whether it's fancy, it can be a million different things. But do not think that this is just a money saving or easier opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. So backyard weddings, unique and fun, doesn't necessarily mean it's cheap or easy. Yeah. We'll start with that. Yes. There we go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think some of the big things to consider when I start talking to people about backyard weddings is, of course, space, right? Like, you don't need to have a huge, a lot of acreage, but you do need to have a little bit of space.
But I want you to people you have
for sure. I want you to think about utilizing a lot of the home, though. During COVID, it was challenging because a lot of people didn't want people inside their houses. Yep. But that's not so much a thing now. So also think about how you could utilize inside. Is there a room that leads out to the backyard that you could clear all the furniture from and kind of put photo booth and bar in there? We've done some weddings where they really took over the whole inside of the house in addition to the outside. Yeah. Is there a front yard? We've done a lot where there's a ceremony in the front yard and the reception in the backyard. Maybe you're not thinking about that, but even like a front door or a cool tree in a front yard can be a really cool altar space. Yep. And just like create a really neat experience. And then also with space, think about flipping it. So ceremonies in the backyard, they move to the front yard for cocktail hour while you move that space in the back and turn it into dinner and dancing. Totally possible. Really kind of a cool option. Yep. Or I actually worked a wedding on Saturday that was in a backyard.
Ooh, we're fresh.
It was very fresh in my brain. Yeah. This was really unique in a lot of ways, but we did more of like a cocktail party style, right? Okay. So we didn't need as much space because we weren't trying to create a huge dance floor and all these round tables and blah, 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 right? It was more of just like a casual
but still fun.
Totally. Yep. Still, it was super fun. It was, again, I think more fun. They had a piñata. You can't do, the piñata was filled with booze and joints. You can't do that at all the venues, No. They still had an amazing team of vendors, killer food. We ate lobster rolls and stuff. Awesome. It was really cool. But this particular wedding, what was really unique about it is the bride and groom have grown up together and their families live in the same neighborhood. Shoot. So we actually did the ceremony at the bride's parents' house and the reception was at the groom's parents' house.
Sick.
So cool.
That's awesome.
After the ceremony at the one parent's house, we poured everyone a glass of champagne and everybody walked together. So 55 people walked through the neighborhood with a flute of champagne over to the party. Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
So I just think there's so many like neat ways that like you wouldn't look at either of these backyards and think that there was enough space to do a wedding. Yeah. They weren't huge. They were gorgeous, but not huge. And we were able to be creative and make it work. So I think that's like the biggest thing people think of is space, but just know that there is probably like a workaround to making it happen. And I think that that's pretty cool.
I think something to note too is having a good planner for having a backyard of like, okay, you're saving probably a shit ton of money from having a venue and a venue fee and security and parking and all this other stuff. Definitely reinvest into the vendors specifically.
Agreed.
Because I don't think the ideas probably would have flowed and it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun if you weren't helping with that.
100%. Yeah. They were like, we want to do this. We just don't know how to actually execute it. And like, we were able to come in and
make it jump.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's awesome.
And reinvest not just necessarily into a planner, but all your good vendors because
100%.
Really good vendors are going to make the day flow, even if there is challenges, right? Like there's people who are all team players. Every backyard wedding I've worked, there's been some issue with like, the bathrooms, the plumbing gets backed up or there's not enough power. Yeah. Like there's going to be a lot of stuff. So a little bit of a checklist to think about when you're thinking about challenges or again, like, is this feasible for my home?
Yeah.
Power is a big one. You might need to bring in a generator. You might need to bring in something extra. Is your home old? Can it handle it?
Can it handle all that?
Yeah.
All that juice needed.
Like a huge deal because when your DJ like goes out in the middle
that'll
or the lighting.
Like your catering too.
Everything. Yeah. Like you'd be surprised how much power coffee percolators pull if they're trying to brew coffee.
What's a percolator?
Like the big coffee makers that like catering teams.
It's called a percolator.
Yeah, all coffee makers are called percolators.
I had no idea. I just thought it was a coffee machine.
Your vocabulary word for the day is percolator, and I need you to use it 5 times today in conversation.
It reminds me of the song of "It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator."
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Is that a song?
Yeah, it's a song.
It's a song about coffee makers?
I'm gonna put it over the. I don't know what it is. I just remember the name of the song. That was it. I'm gonna put it over the video, and I'm gonna even put it on the audio because why not?
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We're gonna.
Anyway, percolators cost.
Stupid shit like that, but power is huge. Lighting, also huge. I've had so many clients say, "Oh, we have plenty of lighting in the backyard." No, you don't. Mm-hmm. Like you might have landscaping lighting or like a safety like upper light or something like that. But event lighting to make sure it's safe for everybody, to make sure that catering can see from the driveway when they're taking it in.
Yep.
People want to be able to see their meals when they're eating. Like more than likely you will have to bring in additional lighting and that can be expensive. Parking is a huge thing, right? Do you have the space normally in the neighborhood? Is there a neighboring lot that you can buy out and hire valet?
Yep.
Are you shuttling people in just as a regular venue is? I mean, especially in Southern California, parking is just challenging like everywhere.
100%.
But that could be a huge thing.
I'm trying to think of the size too, like because backyard weddings, I'm thinking my initial thought is like, okay, 30 to 40 people. But you could have a backyard wedding where it's hundreds of people, depending on like how big
it is,
how big your backyard is.
For sure. So, we've done really large ones. I do think you think smaller and more intimate, and I do think that's the case most of the time. But we've done them for 100 people easy, absolutely, and stuffed it into spaces again that were not as big as you might think. But I think that is one of the perks, right? Is if you're creating this event in this intimate space, you probably want a more intimate crowd. I think in general that would be the rule.
I think too, from photo video perspective, I would not hire a photo video team that does like the very dramatic style of photo video. I would think it would lean much more on the
documentary,
documentary or like photojournalistic vibes, where like you can feel like you're just kind of there versus like a lot of posed stuff. Because it's a backyard, it's intimate. This is your home. Like you should feel casual in a sense.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of ways. Like my clients on this Saturday, for example, theirs was pretty non-traditional, but they got ready together, like in the home, right? There was no like formal first look. Like it just felt like them, and that was really important to them to not have such. I kept calling it a non-wedding wedding. But that doesn't mean you can't do the more formal stuff too. So, okay, so power, lighting, parking, trash is a big one. Again, a very not sexy topic, but do you need to bring in an extra? Like you'd be surprised what a wedding of 50 people can create. A lot of garbage. So definitely consider that. Staffing, don't automatically assume that because you're in a backyard, people will take out their own plate or, go and refill. Like
what kind of plates are you getting?
At a wedding, it's still, people are still expecting a certain level of service.
Yes.
Period. Even if it is in your backyard. They don't want to go and help themselves in the kitchen. This is not a backyard.
They don't want to be grouchy.
And it's not a barbecue like for 4th of July. Like let's still elevate this enough so it feels like a wedding and feels special. So those different like design pieces and logistical pieces can make it feel more like an event as well. Bringing in market bistro lights makes anything feel like pretty cozy and romantic and like a space, right? Versus just like a backyard.
I was thinking about that. I'm like, you have to pay for lighting. I'm like, oh, you can get those like really big stands where they put the sandbags on and just hang like
exactly
the lights just swinging through the whole
rentals
backyard.
Are going to be a huge thing. So whether you're creating a more traditional space with tables and a dance floor and a buffet and blah 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 blah, or if it's a cocktail party,
tables.
Do you want all lounge furniture and for this to feel like vibey,
speakeasy type or whatever it might be.
And don't underestimate like repurposing these things. Again, are we flipping the space? Make sure you have the right amount of staff to move X, Y, and Z during cocktail hour and things like that. So don't sleep on like still making sure you have high quality vendors, have a really tight timeline, all of those things. And just know that like weird shit always happens at backyard weddings. There's just, you know,
what is he doing?
Your dog is probably there because they like they live there. You know, they had the really great dogs.
They did. Yeah,
but that could be a huge advantage to somebody. Is like, I want my dog at my wedding this whole time.
Made it.
Yes,
they can go right to bed too at 9 o'clock or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I just think the vibes are always really fun and casual and cool, and that it can be an even greater like expression of you as a couple than going to a venue.
Okay, it's flowing back to me now. I've shot besides Gianna and Eason, there's been 3 other backyard weddings.
Okay.
One, they had like a reception party later because this was specifically because of COVID.
Yeah.
It was an Indian family, so they were originally going to have all this family fly in. So that did not happen.
Yeah.
So they did a backyard wedding, but instead of the parents investing the money for the ceremony, they divvied it up and they redid their entire backyard.
Yeah.
And for the reception, they booked a really nice place in LA, but they knew it was specifically for a reception. It wasn't for a ceremony.
Yeah,
Time was a lot shorter, so they could spend more money on that. So
totally.
That one.
That's a good thought too. Like it doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm doing one coming up in the spring that the ceremony is at like. It's not a church, but it's like a more of a venue, and then they're going to the backyard for the reception too. So it can be one piece or the other piece. Yeah.
There was another one. I'm thinking of one specifically where the bride and groom already had kids, but they weren't married yet. And so what they decided to do is they did everything at their home that they just bought. It had a nice backyard. They both got ready in their home in different rooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They still had a bunch of family and friends come over. They did spend a lot of money on the rentals because they had a really long table in the backyard. I think the groom built a swing specifically for like a photo op little section.
But then they probably have it in their home forever. Yeah,
exactly.
I will say also on Saturday we looked into a bunch of different rental furniture. They were going to do like cool loungy vignettes. And it's expensive to do that kind of rental stuff. They ended up buying a bunch of furniture, like lounge, cool backyard furniture that now they'll have forever. And it was cheaper than renting stuff. I've had a lot of clients do that again with like the string market lights.
Yep. That's what I would do.
It's easy to rent, but why not? Yeah. Why not like invest in actually like putting them in your backyard?
In the ground.
Yeah. You can make it really nice and then you get to have that forever. Yeah. So, I mean, you could be like, this is expensive to do, but like will last far beyond the day, which is a rare thing in weddings. Yeah. Everything's so fucking temporary that we do, you know? So that's pretty cool too.
Yep. And and the other one was actually a Jewish couple. And they did immediate family and like a couple best friends, but they did it in their little living room. But like, I think one of the parents had passed away. Yeah. And so they kept everything super close. I think it was hard for the dad to move around. So they're like, we're just going to do everything here. So we still recorded photo and video. And then we were able to share, obviously, all that stuff with anyone that wanted to watch and things like that. But then they had a really nice big backyard. But it was just like open to just hang out and take photos. Yeah. And dad was lounging in his outside, the dad chair.
Kept dad feeling comfortable.
Yeah, he's chilling, it was easy accessibility. They had their favorite Jewish restaurant catered, and they told me they said, Kyle, sit down. We're all eating together. So it was a very intimate time.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have shot some.
Okay, you're more experienced. This is literally the most classic Kyle thing ever to be like.
I was like, wait.
Oh wait, I do have something to say on the matter. Okay, I do. Yeah, I think it got me so fired up on Saturday because I was like, yes, this is what I love. Yeah. And so think about timeline, again, don't treat it any different than you would, a venue type of wedding as far as the planning goes. Yeah. But maybe you have more flexibility on timing. Maybe you can party a little bit later than you would. Maybe not. Think about your neighbors and think about noise restrictions as well and what that kind of looks like. Hot tip is to drop off a little handwritten letter and a bottle of wine to all of the surrounding neighbors and just be like, we're doing this thing. It will help your chances of not having the cops called on you. And then the last thing I want to say is about this is I guess a little bit of a warning. A lot of people think that they want to have a backyard wedding. They don't have the space for it. Mm-hmm. So they'll use Airbnb or VRBO to try to do something.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
First
Wait,
of all,
look at the camera and tell
don't do it. First of all, it is not legal typically to do that. So, you know, as not that we ever give good advice, but it's just so unreliable. I mean, I just had a wedding where they were renting the Airbnb, not even for the party, but like just to stay at. They canceled on them the night before. I've had another backyard wedding where we got catfished hard. The listing looked beautiful, and it was just like a dumpy ass trailer on like a weird hill. Like, there are just so many moving pieces when it comes to a rental property. I would say it's already going to be a challenge planning this. Do it at a home that you know the owners, that you can trust, that you can access for planning purposes, that you know, I mean.
Or you can go to beforehand and verify that you can bring X amount of people, X vendors.
You do not want to do all this shit and then have it shut down in the middle or have someone cancel on you last minute. I see it on those Facebook like wedding groups and stuff all the time. Like, oh, I thought I could do this at this. But they might be marketing it as like an estate that you can have a wedding at. More than likely, it's not fucking.
It's not an estate.
No,
it's a house.
It's somebody's house, or you know, a lot of cities are cracking down on these rental properties in general. So just definitely a word to the wise: be careful, do your research, and a space and a home of someone that you can trust is super important.
Be safe. Be safe and be smart.
Safety third.
Let's see. Was there anything else on the backyard weddings? I thought there was one more thing that we wanted to talk about.
I think that I pretty much covered all my main pieces. Feel free to reach out. Oh, do you just wanted to play the percolators?
It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator.
Never heard this song.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard.
You've never heard this song.
No one has.
Okay, well, clearly I have.
Listeners, please comment. Have you heard this fucking awful song before?
It's literally all he says.
Where have you heard this song?
I used to skate at a roller rink in high school.
Oh, I thought you meant skateboard.
Nope. I used to roller skate in high school.
Oh my God, you're so nerdy.
In Chicago. Had the quads and everything, trying to be all smooth. But this was one of the songs on like, I don't know, like the Flashback Thursdays or something like that. This was one of the songs that kept coming on every night.
Petition to make Kyle roller skate.
100%. I will bring roller skates to maybe Ebel. And I'll roller skate around, and
the venues are gonna love it when Kyle shows up with roller skates.
And I'll shoot. I mean, I have liability.
Ooh, what if you had like those little Heelys? You know, the tennis shoes that just have the little wheel pop out.
No, I don't want those.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's where he draws. Mr. Cool Guy doesn't like the Heelys.
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get actual roller skates. I do it.
It's time for the percolator. All right. Well, on that note. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Peace.